Joseph Conrad has employed symbols as a literary device in the novel, The Heart of Darkness, to convey his thoughts. Critically comment on this statement. Marks, 10-12. Answer. Conrad himself opines, all the great creations of literature have been symbolic. He also says, a work of art is very seldom limited to one exclusive meaning and not necessarily tending to a definite conclusion. His novella, Heart of Darkness, too, is marked by great symbolic significance. We see multiple forms and levels of darkness, which appears to be an integral motif throughout the novella. Significantly, the title hints at the centrality of the contrasting motif of light and darkness in the text. The contrasting effects of light and darkness refer simultaneously to the incapacity to see or visualize as well as the predictability of the human condition. In the words of Ian Watt, in the early part of the narrative, the main effect of Conrad's light and dark imagery was to break many of its associated conventional antitheses in the domain of human values. Conrad's novel also helps us see a world where the familiar and easy distinctions between black and white are complicated and sometimes reversed. Exploring the idea of horror implicit in the idea of darkness and progress in light, Conrad has reversed the common meanings of the recurring phrases, to enlighten, and to be in the darkness. Similarly, the white invaders in this text are embodiments of blindness and cruelty. In fact, the entire novel seems to be lost and engulfed in darkness, which can be traced back to Conrad's main theme of the novel, the pernicious effects of imperialism. The novella begins and ends with the imagery of darkness and the river. Both these motifs play a significant role in Conrad's novel in terms of the setting, themes and the narrative technique. Although the novel begins and ends with the reference to the River Thames in London, the actual story of Conrad's novel concentrates on Marlowe's journey to rescue Kurtz through the Congo, the very antithesis to the Thames. Interestingly, both these rivers are repeatedly associated with images of darkness. But it is only the River Congo that particularly shares the primordial sense of being similar to the country Africa. Like Africa and its denizens smeared in eternal darkness, the African river too, therefore, seems to be incomprehensible and mysterious to Marlowe. The steamer toiled along slowly on the edge of a black and incomprehensible frenzy. We were cut off from the comprehension of our surroundings. Marlowe recounts his voyage up the River Congo that they penetrated deeper and deeper into the heart of darkness. Thus, darkness is further explored to suggest our failure to see, understand and recognize the presence of another human being. It also refers to the inner darkness which Kurtz discovers to be a part of his civilized and enlightened self. The novella is also about an inner voyage resembling the quest of the Grail. And here characters are also symbolic. On the issue of Marlowe-Kurtz relationship, Edward Said points out, the kinship between Marlowe and Kurtz in Heart of Darkness is sustained on a metaphysical level as a kinship between darkness and light, between the impulse towards darkness sustained by Marlowe until he sees Kurtz and the impulse towards light sustained by Kurtz in the deepest darkness. Darkness characterizes any civilized consciousness indeed. In the words of Saul Bellow, well, maybe every guy has his own Africa. In the beginning, the light shining on the Thames estuary vividly contrasts with the all-pervading gloom in London. The image points out the existence of darkness at the core of the civilization, epitomizing progress. Even the painting by Kurtz, representing a woman, draped and blindfolded, carrying a lighted torch, emphasizes ironically the failure to see or visualize, as in spite of having the torch, the woman cannot see. In the concluding part of the novella, there is a final variation on the values associated with the motif of whiteness. The fireplace of the fiancé at the fiancé's place has a cold and monumental whiteness, and her pale visage seems surrounded by an ashy halo. Although she is illuminated by the inextinguishable light of belief and love, Marlowe informs us that, with every word spoken in the room was growing darker. Thus, she seems to be sick and pallid in comparison to Kurtz's tragic and fierce African mistress. So, the meaning of darkness relates to the psychological, moral, spiritual realms and also to a larger metaphysical domain, where light is replete with contradictory notions of darkness, and seems to be associated with unnaturalness, dehumanization, hypocrisy and delusion. The concluding line of the novel, "The offing was barred by a black bank of clouds and the tranquil waterway leading to the uttermost ends of the earth flowed somber under an overcast sky, seemed to lead into the heart of an immense darkness," shows the progression of the river serenely luminous at the beginning into an embodiment of darkness by the end of the novella. Ian Watt opines that the manager's reference to the ebb enacts the endless circularity of meaningless human history in terms of the circular fictional setting. Thus, the river is a part of the similar setting and evocative atmosphere at the introduction and the conclusion of the text, helps the other audiences of Marlowe as well as readers to search for the larger meaning of his tale. The symbolic significance of wilderness and African landscape enriches the themes explored. In the beginning, the fecund jungle and the innate vitality of the natives fascinate the reader as well as Marlowe. The stark contrast between the empty formalism of the European scene and the dense and unpredictable wilderness of the African scene is established in the text repeatedly. This contrast hints at the distinction that lies at the core of the troubled relation between the races. Finished. Please subscribe to the channel for more updates of ready-made notes on English literature. Also, please share this channel to help any student pursue a degree in English literature. Thank you very much for watching the video. Please do not forget to like and comment.